Hi, I'm Tom Alston, and I want to give you some reasons about why you should hire an aircraft or a vessel tax professional, especially if your viewpoint is to legally avoid the sales or use tax, or as I call them, transactions taxes. Aircraft and vessels always come with a hefty price tag, and hefty might mean different things to you than it does to other people. I have clients who bought purchases that are $90,000 to $100,000 and they were facing $8,000 to $10,000 worth of tax, and I have clients who spent $72 million on purchases and were facing $7 million worth of tax. So it's what the money is worth from your viewpoint that we're talking about. So if it's a hefty price tag to you, if you're already paying that much, you might be wondering why it's worth your time or money to consult a tax professional. Actually, the same high cost is the reason why it's so important to bring in an expert. And in the case of Aero Marine Tax Professionals, our goal is not mitigating a tax bill. Our service completely eliminates it. Completely. Zero. When should you bring in a tax pro? The short answer is as early as possible. There are lots of complications involved in a purchase, and it can have lots of complexity. Assemble your team as early as possible. Get them all on board together at one time in one conference call or one meeting, and this will all go smoother for you. The sooner you bring in a professional, the sooner you can help navigate through all the jargon and the convoluted paperwork. Here are 5 of the biggest hurdles that an expert will help you navigate. Number 1, tax officials crack down on these types of purchases. Sometimes that tax code complication works in your favor. Use tax technically should be paid on anything that crosses a state line. But usually, like when you're buying a refrigerator or a TV or a computer, it's more trouble than it's worth. Not with airplanes or vessels. These are big purchases with big tax bills. Say that your purchase is around $2 million. That's $200,000 you could save. In addition, it's $200,000 of revenue a tax auditor can bring in from a single case, you. So basically, purchasing an aircraft or a vessel makes you a big target that's easy to hit if you're not prepared. Second reason is you could be purchasing from the wrong person in the wrong place. Dealers will charge you the local sales tax, and their license depends upon paying it. Private party purchases should have use tax that's paid by the buyer. Since buyers and sellers are usually less experienced about tax matters than dealers, you'll often end up with the blind leading the blind. But the dealer has an obligation, if he's delivering something to you in his own state, to properly inform you about how to avoid the tax, or he's going to collect the tax with you. If you bring your tax professionals on early enough, they can tell you how to get through that and not pay the tax by moving a delivery point. It's in your best interest to get these professionals hired as soon as possible. Third reason, there's lots of exemptions out there. When you start talking with other owners or pilots about sales or use tax, you'll undoubtedly hear about lots of exemptions. My word of warning, especially to airplane owners, don't get tarmac tax advice. If you're a vessel owner, don't get your tax advice in the marina. Get it from someone who is a bona fide tax expert in the area that you're hoping to deal with. Tax exemptions are built into the code for specific situations, like when a plane is purchased to be used as a charter, or if you're going to immediately leave the state, which is known as a flyaway exemption. There are plenty of other exemptions, and the specific requirements of them will change depending upon the state. If that weren't complicated enough, the details of these exemptions can change with every new tax year. The only way to make sure you're complying with the exemptions is by dealing with a tax expert. Number 4 reason is the definitions can be a little murky. The taxes that are levied against your plane depend upon very specific definitions. Take the use tax. The jurisdiction that gets to levy the tax depends upon where the plane is used. In California, even if you're a resident of Ohio, if you buy an airplane and you fly it into California at any time within the first 12 months after you take possession, they have a right to question your logs and receipts to see if you meet any California exemptions, which means you have to file the tax return. Some states define this as having a substantial nexus, while others have a specific time limit before the tax is levied, such as 30 to 60 days. The same variation of definition carries over into other tax regulations and exemptions. Buying a plane that you mean to use as charter might be an exemption, but only if it meets very specific qualifications that vary from state to state. When you make your tax case, you not only need to know about any exemptions, you also need to be confident in your ability to fit the definitions required for those exemptions. The number 5 reason is that many different agencies want a piece of the pie. Remember, you're the pie. With so much revenue available from airplanes and vessels, you've got plenty of government agencies who want to get their share. Notice that it's their share when they're trying to collect taxes. It's fair share if they're trying to force you to collect taxes. That's a socialist viewpoint, and you don't have to live by it. Let's look at that $2 million airplane. If you buy that airplane and headquartered it around Los Angeles, you could be looking at sales tax or use tax of around $200,000. As you can imagine, very few revenue officers will want to lose that money. That huge bill is only for the use tax. You also got federal taxes, fuel taxes, income taxes, property taxes, and registration taxes. Every one of these taxes has their own regulations and tax codes and enforcement divisions. With that amount of potential tax involved in an airplane or a vessel purchase, it's vital that these are navigated correctly. Please remember, this is what we do. As you can see, there's lots of details involved in keeping your airplane or your vessel tax bills as low as possible. And these details keep evolving on a regular basis. This is why it's so important to go to a consultant who specializes in airplanes or vessels. It is our job to keep on top of all the changing tax regulations to make sure that we can save our clients as much money as possible. We always recommend bringing all the tax professionals involved in a transaction on board as soon as possible to make sure we are covering as many bases as possible. Or as Kevin Austin from Aero Law says, it's the giant whack-a-mole game. That's what we do. By the way, we also hold one-day free seminars or webinars where a lot more information is shared on how this works. So stay connected. At those webinars or seminars, I bring in some of the most informed legal professionals in the industry to provide all the knowledge one needs if you are looking to purchase an aircraft or a vessel. So if you want to know anything about it, call me, 916-691-9192. My personal extension is 108. The call is free. Or get hooked up with us through social media. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. You'll always know what we're doing, or you can get on one of our email lists. We like to communicate with you.